very special episode of Tome of Uselessness. I'm Devin.
I'm Dan.
And today we're just talking about a bunch of shit because we have been bad at recording.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like we kind of both share the blame on this in that like we didn't agree on what to watch for like October for like something Halloween-y or horror, and then our schedules went out of whack, and then we independently finished shows and we're like, oh, you should totally watch it. No one watched it, so it was like we just haven't recorded anything.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And like, I mean, like, I haven't finished watching Rings of Power yet. I still have 2 episodes of that. I still have 2 episodes of She-Hulk. I haven't watched any of Sandman. I'm just like, yep.
Yeah, exactly. So like it happens, and then so for this we were like, oh, we should just do a catch-up, talk about what we've been watching.
Yeah. Just thought of one more thing. I'll just add it real quick. There we go.
Yeah.
I have notes. You have notes.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we won't do a things we like segment because that's the whole episode.
Pretty much, yeah.
But it's good to record with you again.
Yeah, I know. I always enjoy it, and I was like, man, I feel like recording.
Yeah, it's been like 1,000 years.
In the long ago.
Long ago. But before we started recording, we had kind of briefly discussed that we've categorized things into movies, shows, and books. Where would you like to start, Dan?
I was going to say movies would be a good place, but before we do, I'll talk real briefly. One of the reasons I didn't watch some of the stuff that we have been is because Dota, the TI-11 happened, the international.
Mm-hmm.
Event happened. It was in Singapore, sorry. And so the time shift was like a little odd, like where they started at 7 p.m. our time, but I watched a ton of it. The live stadium aspect of it was lacking, I would say. But then they did the finals in a big stadium, which was cool and fun, but then it was only for like 2 days and only like 3 or 4 games or series versus, you know, like when I saw it at Rogers Arena or would it take place in Key Arena, it's still always the arena atmosphere. But the games were still good. It was a lot of fun to watch, and it was kind of cool because there was a couple heroes that were released more recently, and so they haven't had as much time in the hero pool to be like fully balanced. So they were kind of OP.
Nice.
Yeah. So and sometimes, you know, when a team got one, they went pretty ham with it, and you're just like, oh my God, this thing is gonna get nerfed big. The tournament ended, but yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, large prize pool again in the millions, and the team that won, I wasn't very familiar with them. There was Team Tundra. I believe they're from like South America, I want to say. Not usually like a powerhouse region, and they played against Team Secret in the finals, and they wiped the floor with them. It was a 3-0 stomp. It was pretty cool. Or
that's awesome.
Maybe it was 3-1. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there was 1 win in there, but it was pretty much there was no doubt that like that team was going to win. Essentially, it was like, oh, they're way better than the other team. The team I wanted to do well, at least to make it to the finals, Team Liquid, because one of the players, he was retiring after this event, and he had previously won TI. That was Team Liquid, and Matamba Man was the name of the player. They got knocked out, unfortunately, in the semifinals or the quarterfinals. One of the two. They made it really far. It was pretty cool, but I feel like I think they made a drafting error in the last game that they played because that series went to 3. But anyway, that was me, armchair quarterbacking it, as it were.
Nice.
But yeah, I enjoyed it. The videos are up on YouTube if you want to watch, or Twitch. But I would recommend usually watching some high-level pro Dota is a lot of fun. It's more fun, of course, when you understand the game.
Which I do not. It just looks like chaos whenever you try to show it to me.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things that is, especially at the pro level, like the fights, they're so chaotic and they're so quick. They're less than 10 seconds long, and it's like, whoa, that was a long fight. It went 20 seconds, and it's like, wow, that was a long fight. But, you know, there's always something going on, like macro and stuff like that. So there was some interesting stuff that happened. So yeah, enjoyable stuff. TI, that was.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was just working late, so that's why. That was my excuse.
Yeah, this one you were like, oh, you should totally watch this, and I'm like, yeah, but Ti is on. So.
But T.I., yeah.
But yeah, I'd say we should jump into some movies. I know you said you've watched a bunch, so.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7.5. Well, 8, but one of them you saw.
Okay, yeah. Nice.
Yeah. Well, how many movies are on your list?
1.
Okay. Do you want to start or should I start?
Well, it's probably the one we saw together, which was See How They Run.
Yeah, which was great.
Yeah, because we talked about potentially doing an episode about it.
But we did not get our shit together.
Yeah, well, I got some notes about it, of course. The director, Tom George, writer, Mark Chappell, Sam Rockwell. This was something I didn't know was the woman who played Stalker, Saoirse Ronan.
Saoirse Ronan.
What, sorry?
Saoirse Ronan.
Yeah, she was Hannah in the first Hannah.
Yeah, she's been in a ton of shit. She was in Little Women. She was in Lady Bird. She's a really good actress.
Oh no, she was awesome, but I didn't know she was Hannah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I looked that up. No, I didn't. Somebody told me that. Somebody who wasn't you. Who told me that? I don't know. Who knows anything anymore?
But it was just funny because I was watching afterwards I was just like, I wonder if I've seen her before because I haven't seen Little Women and maybe some of the other stuff she's been in, and I was like, oh, she was Hannah.
Hey, nice.
And yeah, they had a big ensemble cast, like you're saying, like Adrian Brody was in there as well.
Yeah, he was great in that.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really enjoyed it. A fun like whodunit, but it's twist on it, and apparently it's been in development for a long time. I don't know if you saw this part that it was in development around 2016, 2017, and they were originally going to cast Hugh Grant and Keira Knightley.
Oh, I'm glad they changed that.
Well, but kind of what happened was it got put on hold with the Disney merger.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So yeah, when they started to actually make it in 2020, they had to recast.
Fair enough.
And then also how Sam Rockwell, he kind of based his characterization on Peter Sellers and Clouseau, which I thought was...
Makes sense, because it's like an Agatha Christie adjacent story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I liked it too. I feel like it's a movie for people who like movies. If that makes any sense. Not to sound like Harry Styles when he talks about Don't Worry, Darling, where he's like, it's like a movie, a real movie.
No, but you're right. It has a lot of like that, like meta qualities about it. And like the story itself is meta referential. And it's kind of like, it reminds me a bit of like when in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Where it's like you're watching a movie being made in a movie, right? Yeah,
or like Hail Caesar a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was really good.
Yeah, no, I really
liked it. It wasn't the best movie I've seen all year or anything like that, but it was fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think I'm a little before we get into like my list of movies, I think I'm starting to get a little disenfranchised with movies and TV, because a lot of it just feels like we need to put content out in the world and it needs to be familiar to people. Do you know what I mean?
And we've talked about this, I think, even on this show.
Probably. So I like movies, and I like when there's like surprises in movies, or like they stick with me for a long time, like Men.
Sure.
But so like I liked See How They Run, but it wasn't groundbreaking or anything. It was just kind of fun to watch it. Right? That's a good review.
Yeah. No, yeah. Like I said, I enjoyed it as well, and fun cast. It was, not like this huge epic. It was like an hour 40 or so. Like it was just some good, solid entertainment. Yeah.
Okay. Should I go through my list kind of quick? I don't want to take up too long.
No, it's fine. It's all good. What do you got?
All right.
I know one of them. Oh, sorry. No, I assume one of them is The Woman King as well. But yeah.
No, we already talked about that on here, didn't we?
Did we?
Oh, well, I'll put it on the list. I thought that we've recorded since then, because that was in September. But let me throw it on my list anyways.
No, well, it's fine. But yes, I interrupted.
Woman King was really good, and you should watch it. The end.
I think I think that was your review last time. Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I was super looking forward to Amsterdam, and I was hyped to see it, and it's kind of a letdown.
No.
Christian Bale is great in it. Margot Robbie is great. The whole cast is great in it, but it doesn't feel like a story, which is weird because it's kind of based on a true story. What it feels like is a series of vignettes that show off actors' abilities to act. That's what it is. Like, it came out in October so that they can get nominated for an Oscar. I assume they're going to try to get Christian Bale nominated, possibly Margot Robbie. But it's just like, I don't know. It's fine. The story is weird and meandering. It kind of goes off on tangents, but if you want to see actors being good actors, then it's worth watching.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question was it told in such a way where is it like, here's like this section, and then is it like there's a time jump, and then now we're into like a new scenario, like you said, like with the same characters, or, one character's the same and different characters now, so it kind of feels more disjointed?
There's a bit of a time jump, like they go back, they do flashbacks kind of, but it wasn't that the story was hard to follow or that it didn't make sense. It's just like, it just didn't feel cohesive. It was just like, we're going to do this scene. You guys are going to be awesome. Now we're going to do this scene and you guys are going to be awesome. Like, it was just, I don't know. I was like pleasantly surprised with Michael Myers in it. He was pretty good.
Yeah, that is surprising.
He gave a good performance, and so did, is that the actor's name? Michael Shannon from Knives Out? He was one of the brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was quite good in it too. They were kind of a comedic duo together. Yeah, overall, like good little snippets of people being good actors. That's it.
What about, because like it's more of a period-esque piece, what about like the production and design? And like it looked pretty good from a couple stills I saw.
Absolutely gorgeous, great costumes, weird soundtrack. There was long stretches of the movie that just didn't have any music in the background. Or like additional sounds. It was just the actors talking.
Well, all the budget went to all the actors and the costumes, like you said.
I guess so, or maybe they were just trying, like, I think they were trying to really just maybe showcase the way they were delivering those lines. It felt very much like a movie put together to win awards.
Right.
Yeah. But not, like, I mean, I guess they weren't trying to be super obvious about it because it wasn't about Hollywood and and there was no war. Oh no, wait, there was a war. Yeah, never mind. Yep, they're good. They checked at least one of those boxes.
Yeah. Did any actors do a crazy transformation?
Oh yeah, Christian Bale. He holds himself in a completely different way than I've ever seen him hold himself. He's just a very, very good actor.
And he's committed to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you see him in stuff like this, you're like, oh yeah, he's a very, very good actor. He absolutely disappears into the role. That's enough about Amsterdam. I went and saw The Harpies of Inisherin.
Oh, I haven't heard of this.
So this is a movie starring Colin Farrell and some other people, and it's the same team that did the movie In Burgess.
I have heard of this, sorry. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think I ranted a bit over text to it. This is okay. This is another movie that I think they did for an Oscar. This movie is well acted, it's well shot, it has a great soundtrack, but the crux of the story is that men need to be allowed to express their emotions properly. The men in this movie needed therapy. It felt like such a fucking pointless story to tell. And I think people are going to like it because the acting is good and Colin Farrell is good. Mm-hmm. But it just felt like, I don't want to spoil it because we're not really doing a long review of it. And I don't want to spoil it in case you want to watch it. But this movie was just so pointless. And while I had a good time out at the cinema, I will never watch this movie again.
Yeah, and like you're saying, it was the same kind of crew and involvement from Inversion. So is it like another, I don't know, dark or black comedy as well?
It's a black comedy. But if you were expecting like a movie about assassins or spies, you'll be sorely disappointed. It takes place on a small island off the coast of Ireland. Without giving away too much, there are two friends, Colin Farrell and this other dude. The other dude just decides he doesn't want to be Colin Farrell's friend anymore. That's the whole crux of the movie. And Colin Farrell is sad about it. It's set in the 20s.
Right.
That's it. It's just about them not being able to communicate together properly, things escalating, but not to a point where anything interesting happens.
You're like, oh, something's gonna. Oh no, nothing really happened.
Yeah, nothing happened. Yeah.
But it's about the journey and the characters, like you said, right?
Yeah, again, if you want to spend time with these characters, you can, but
right.
It's just well acted. It's well acted and it's beautifully shot, and that's the only good things I can say about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. I watched the movie Chef, which came out a while ago. Have you seen it?
The one with Jon Favreau?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I've watched I've watched things about it and kind of well aware of its narrative, but I haven't seen the movie itself.
It's like a wholesome, fun little movie about a chef who gets fired and gets a food truck.
Yeah.
And that's it. And it's like kind of a father-son story, and it's kind of a like, not a coming of age. What's a coming of age story if you're like 40?
Yeah, no, it's a man discovering his passion, as it were.
Yeah. He's rediscovering his love for cooking.
Yeah.
It has some absolutely beautiful shots of food that will make you hungry, so I suggest having something delicious to eat while you watch it. Lots of cameos from the Avengers verse, like Scarlett Johansson's in it. Robert Downey Jr. makes an appearance, and it's fun. I recommend it. It's a fun, wholesome, uncomplicated little movie.
Yeah, and I was going to say, piggybacking off that, if you haven't seen, one of the editors for the Weekly Planet, his name is Ben from Canada, and he started his own channel, and he actually does a retrospective on that movie. And basically, his thesis of the movie is that it's kind of almost an allegory for him dealing with directing Iron Man 2, because essentially all the things that he had to deal with after he made Iron Man 1, where now you have all these outside forces coming in, wanting to make a bigger and different project and stuff like that. So it's kind of almost a man who rediscovers his love of making movies as well.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Check out his video, Ben from Canada.
I also think he just likes cooking, because Netflix has spun off this movie into this chef show, which is not like fictional. It's like a reality show where he goes and eats at different restaurants and learns how to cook their signature dishes. Yeah, so Chef, recommend.
Nice.
Good. The next movie I saw was Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Hey everyone, this is Dan from the future, and I just wanted to say that I realized that the movie I was thinking of was True Romance, and so everything I'm about to say is wrong. And yeah, like I said, I was just confused about the movie. We'll continue on.
Which is another older RJD, right? Robert Downey, no, RDJ movie.
RDJ, yeah. Shane Black.
Have you seen it?
You know what's funny is I have a borrowed DVD from someone from like 20 years ago that I never gave back, and I haven't watched the movie still.
It's good. It's also starring, who else is it starring? What's that dude's name?
It's like Christian Slater, isn't it?
No.
He's not in it? I thought he was.
Val Kilmer.
Ah, yes.
Oh, maybe Christian Slater's in it. I don't know. Val Kilmer's in it, though. He plays a gay man, and everything that anyone says to his character is incredibly homophobic. But if you can get past that, it's a fun little movie. I think it was pre-Iron Man, right?
Oh yeah, because
It
it's
was
old,
like Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback after drugs.
and like Gary Oldman's in it as well.
No, he isn't, is he?
I thought he was. I thought like it had all these big actors in it. Now you're making me question my whole brain.
I don't remember seeing him in it.
Yeah, but he's like wearing something weird.
Wearing something. Is he the lady in it?
Let's see. Maybe I'm thinking of a different movie.
I think you're thinking of a different movie.
Probably.
This is a movie about a petty thief who, in an attempt to run away from getting caught by the police, gets hired to be in a movie because he ran into an audition while he was trying to run away from the police. And the movie studio basically hires him so that they can negotiate a big actor's salary down.
Nice.
Yeah, and then murder ensues.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I recommend it. But it did come out in the early 2000s, and if you can't handle a lot of homophobic slurs, then you should avoid it.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way they talk to the gay character. That's even the way the gay character talks about himself. I'm glad we've come far from there. Next movie. This was a Disney Plus exclusive. I watched Werewolf by Night.
Oh,
which
yeah.
is a Marvel thing. It pays homage to old black and white horror Universal monster movies. It's very well done. It's a lot of fun. It's shot in black and white. Like a simple story. They're not really setting it up to be part of anything bigger. It's just a fun little one-off, and I liked it.
Yeah, I've seen some rumblings that it's pretty good.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
So that's a recommend.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check it out.
I watched Hocus Pocus 2, another Disney Plus exclusive. It's all right.
I think that seems to be the consensus, at least from what I've seen, because like many people really like Hocus Pocus 1, right? It's kind of an underground cult favorite. But for this one, people are like, yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if it needed a sequel, but they made one, and I watched it.
Like you said, we're not doing deep reviews here or anything, but like, I'm curious, what's it even about?
So this takes place in now times.
Sure.
So first, a little bit of a rant. It starts out with like a way too long flashback to when the witches were children. And these kids look so much like their adult counterparts, but they're all speaking with like a fake old-timey accent. Like I don't even know if I can call it British.
Right.
And it's just it made me want to cut out my eardrums.
They're all like, "Hello, Father."
Yeah. Hello, Father. Like I sound better than they did.
Right.
Tony Hale's in it though, and I've developed a fondness for him. I don't know. It's fine. So the premise is that we're following 3 teenage girls in now times, and they have kind of grown apart because one of them got a boyfriend. Anyways, blah, blah, blah. Turns out one of them's a witch. They accidentally summon the sisters, the Sanderson sisters. Chaos ensues, and then they fix it.
So they're not even the main characters then.
They focus a lot on the witches. There's more. I feel like there's more Sanderson sisters in this one than there was in the previous one. But it's a lot of that nostalgia thing where they're like, they sang a song in the first one, so they have to sing a song in the second one, but it has to be a better song and a bigger song because it's a new thing.
Yeah, because sequel.
Yeah, totally, right? Like, oh, it was really funny when the one witch wrote vacuum cleaner, so this time she gets Roombas. Like, just like, y'all need to fuck right off. Just it's fine, it's good, but I'm also like, I don't care about anything.
Fair enough. So again, this kind of falls in your content category, as it were.
Yeah, they've made content and it's serviceable.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's out there. It's pretty inoffensive. The end.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, next. I watched The School of Good and Evil, which is a Netflix movie, and it was the strangest thing I've ever seen, and I don't know who the audience was for, but I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
It was 2.5 hours long, and it's like based on YA books, and it had Charlize Theron, Kerry Washington, and like a big cast.
Yeah.
And it's just like this weird little Netflix only thing. I don't know. It's so strange to me. Like, it's strange that you make a movie that's 2.5 hours long for like this kind of movie where like kids go to. The premise is that there's like it's set. Okay, sorry.
I would say spooky school.
So it's set in oldie times.
Oh, okay.
And storybooks exist. And there's a school called the School of Good and Evil that create heroes and villains for the storybooks. Oh, Lord, what's his name? Morpheus is in it too.
Yeah, Lawrence Fishburne Morpheus.
Yeah, he's in it too. Like, weird, big fucking cast.
Yeah.
But there's a School for Good and Evil, and if you get selected for the School of Good and Evil, you either end up in the good school or the evil school, and the evil people are all ugly and the good people are all pretty. Michelle Yeoh's in it.
Wow.
Yeah, and they don't have her fight. They have her teach beauty class, which I'm like, the fuck? She's in it teaching people how to smile, which, don't get me wrong, she's got a lovely smile, but like, she's not there fighting at all. Like, it's so strange. It's such a big, famous cast, and it's so long. I don't know. It was kind of fun, though. I enjoyed it.
Well, and I was going to ask, do you look it up afterwards to see, I assume this is probably like either a series of books, like, so you're like, maybe could have been better as like a 4-part mini series or something, or it was like, no, the movie was like, it told it the whole story, like it ran the whole gamut.
It is a series of books, and they have set it up for a sequel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Right before the credits, they set it up for a sequel.
Perfect. No, because I was saying, this reminds me, I just listened to an episode of How Did This Get Made, where they talked about a movie called The Vampire Academy, which was in like 2014, I think I want to say, and it was about, like a vampire school, right? And then I was quickly like looking it up because some of the actors they were talking about, and I was like, what is even going on? And then I stumbled on the fact that Peacock has either is going to release or has released a show about the Vampire Academy, because again, it was a series of YA novels. In 2022, and I was like, I haven't even heard about this.
It's so weird because like the School of Good and Evil, it doesn't feel like a cynical cash grab or anything. Like it has like even though it's very like predictable and there's like a character makeover in the middle of it and blah blah blah. It does feel like it's made like in earnest, which is also strange.
Well, and I was also going to ask, I don't know if you looked it up, does the original author have any involvement with this movie, or was it?
Oh, I didn't look that up.
Okay.
I was just kind of baffled that it existed. But I do recommend it because it's fun, and if you like weird movies, or not, it's not even weird. It's like pretty formulaic, but it's just like the whole time watching it, I'm like, who? How? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically my list of movies. So Amsterdam, meh. Harps of Herpes Administer and Mac. Chef recommend. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang recommend if you don't mind homophobic slurs. Werewolf by Night recommend. Hocus Pocus 2, like whatever, watch it with your kids. School of Good and Evil recommend. See How They Run recommend. Women King double recommend because it was great.
Nice. Yeah, sorry, just to quickly go back to Werewolf by Night. Was it made like what the like the rating or the age category you think for that project?
Oh, I feel like it might be a PG-13.
So like a teen audience, as it were.
But like it didn't feel like it was made for teenagers. But because it's in black and white and you don't really see the gore,
right?
I feel like it maybe has like a PG-13 rating. Like it's not. If it was in color, it might have gotten an R rating.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's like a lot of murder going on.
No, I'm very interested in that one for sure.
Yeah, I recommend that one. There's a nice little twist. Without giving away too much. Has a wholesome little ending.
Cool.
Yeah, good. It's good.
Nice. Yeah, and the Women King, like I said, it was something I wanted to check out. I just never got around to it. Also,
you should check that out. It's very, very well done.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, as of like time of recording here, so you didn't go see Wakanda Forever yet because I haven't seen it either.
I did not realize
it just came out this weekend.
Oh, it came out this weekend. Okay, I didn't realize it was out.
Yeah, no, it just came out this weekend and upcoming because it's funny you mentioned Chef. There's that movie coming out called The Menu with Ralph Fiennes and
so bad.
Yeah, and Anya Taylor-Joy about horror chef stuff.
Yeah, and Nicholas Holt's in it, and he's so funny.
Yeah. So anyway, that's some upcoming stuff to watch because I was like, oh, I should go check out Wakanda Forever as well.
Yeah, I want to check that out too, but not till I get back from Mexico.
Indeed.
Going to Mexico on Saturday.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess we could move on to some TV shows.
Yeah. That's
watching. Good. I'll start off with one. I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but Harley Quinn, the animated show, it ended its more recent season not that long ago. It was really good. I highly enjoyed it. If you've enjoyed the previous seasons of the show, you'll continue to enjoy this. At least that's what I think. It's like it was no dip in quality. It was some good fun stories, some good twists on, Batman lore and stuff like that. Because like one of my favorites, this is kind of a minor spoiler, but like they go down, Harley and Ivy and them, to go down to the swamp to New Orleans to visit the Swamp Thing. And when they're gone, the Joker becomes the mayor of Gotham. But he's like a straight mayor, like he because he's gone straight in season 3, I think it was. And so it's just like, it's pretty hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, like stuff like that, goes on. And at the end of the series, this is kind of a spoiler here, where Bruce Wayne gets arrested for tax evasion. And then Catwoman, I think, or not Catwoman, but I think Barbara Gordon's like, oh, well, we can break you out. Or he's like, no, it's part of justice. I got to serve my time. And he's like, you guys could handle the crime of Gotham and stuff.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. So like I said, it's a lot of fun. I've still enjoyed it. I don't know if they're going to continue to make more, but if they do, I will be there to watch it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do one now.
Sure. Speaking
of Tony Hale, I saw The Mysterious Benedict Society, which is a series on Disney Plus. It's about clever orphans solving crimes, and it is beautiful costumes and amazing set design and a fun little story, and I recommend it.
How many episodes?
I don't know, like 8 or 10 or some shit. It reminds me of a little bit like Series of Unfortunate Events, or I don't know, like Harriet the Spy, kind of like that kind of style of storytelling, and I liked it.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, your turn.
Oh, sure. I mean, I guess I can talk. I watched Cyberpunk Edge Runners because I had been hearing, a lot of positive. I've still been meaning to watch Arcane as well, but so this one is based off of the Cyberpunk video game. It's anime. It's 10 episodes long. Done by Studio Trigger, creator by Rafael Jackie. And for me, it was like 5 seconds in, I was just like, why weren't these people making Ghost in the Shell?
Oh, nice.
That was the only thing I could think of, because as you know, I love Ghost in the Shell, which, yeah, another update. I got a Ghost in the Shell tattoo since we last recorded. Very cool.
It looks very cool.
Yeah, I very much love it. But yeah, so like the colorization and everything was great. The animation was great. And it just, yeah, told a simple story about a kid. His mom unfortunately dies, and he's kind of stuck in this crappy cyberpunk world, because it's always crappy when it's cyberpunk.
Of course.
And yeah, he's just trying to scrape a living together, becomes a mercenary, and then it's like, as he goes, he meets a girl, and then it's them trying to survive, and things all go swimmingly in the end.
Nice.
But yeah, I do recommend. It was a lot of fun. I haven't actually played the game, but of course I've watched a lot of sci-fi stuff, and Cyberpunk, played Shadowrun, so it's not like I don't understand the tropes of the genre, right? So
Yeah, fair enough.
But no, yeah, there was some cool stuff, some really cool visuals, and just some of the action was very cool, very stylized, but in a good way. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Cool. Season 1 and 2 of Staged, which stars Michael Sheen and David Tennant.
Right. Sorry, that's what I was like, I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's really funny. The first season is they're doing a play together, and then the pandemic hits, so they decide to try to rehearse and block the play through Skype, basically.
Yeah, from what I've heard, because some people are plus or minus about like pandemic being in content, but I've heard this is like one of the best ones that it actually has it in there.
Absolutely. They have a ton of guest stars like Whoopi Goldberg, Judi Dench, Cate Blanchett, Simon Pegg, Nick Frost. All those people show up on it.
Mm-hmm.
The first season is about the play. The second season is kind of meta. It's about the first season, but now they want to make an American remake of it, and they want to cast other people as Michael Sheen and David Tennant.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun. It's very funny. They work so well together, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, speaking of, I mean, as you know, like they're making a season 2 of Good Omens somehow.
I know. I'm excited for it. I don't even care what it's about. I just like them together.
Yeah, I mean, they were so great in that show together. I guess I'll mention House of the Dragon season 1 ended. That's a Game of Thrones spin-off. HBO takes place 172 years, I think I would say. 171 or 72 years before the events of Game of Thrones, the first show. It's kind of loosely based off of the Fire and Blood book by George R.R. Martin. Because from what I understand, that book's more of like a history, not like an actual story.
Right.
I haven't read it. But this show was created by Ryan J. Condal. I really did enjoy it, and there's a few things I really enjoyed about it. One,
my dad really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed how a lot of the central, because I mean, obviously blood's in the title, but a lot of it was about bloodlines and everything, and it showed how crappy medicine was back then, especially to pregnant women. Because
that's why chainsaws were invented. Did you know that?
It wouldn't surprise me.
Chainsaws were invented to help during labor.
Yeah, because this is not a huge spoiler, but in the first episode, it's like in the first 5 minutes, the queen that we've met, and you're like, oh yeah, she dies in childbirth.
Nice.
And it's just like, oh God. And it's visceral and graphic, which was funny. There were people complaining. They were like, oh my God, that was so like gory. And I wasn't expecting that. It's like, you were watching Game of Thrones. Like people get murdered horribly all the time. What did you expect? HBO has even had big warnings in front of it. It's like, graphic content warning, sexual warning, language. Anyway, so I like that. And the cast, I thought, killed it. And there were some actors in there. Paddy Considine, he's been in like other things. And he was the King Viserys, and he killed it. And it was just kind of very shocking. His performance was really good. And then the people who play, they cast, there's time jumps, a lot of them. And at least fortunately, they kind of tell you as it goes. But so there's 2 actresses that play the grown-up versions of the two main characters and two actresses that play the child versions of them. And all four of the women, I thought, killed it. Or I think, sorry, one maybe trans. All four of them, I guess.
They're non-binary.
Yeah. Emma
Yeah.
Darcy, is their name?
My dad, the whole time he was watching the show, he's like, the princess is so...
So what? Sorry, you cut out there.
Sorry. My dad just... Anytime I asked him about the show, he was like, the princess is so cool.
Yeah, they were all really cool. And Emma D'Arcy, Millie Alcock were the two Rhaenyras, and then Olivia Cook and Emily Carey were the two Alicents. And Rhys Infan as well he was Sir Otto Hightower, which was Queen Alicent's dad. He also did really well in it. Matt Smith was in it and also killed it.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard really good things about Matt Smith in it.
Yeah, so like I said, it was all these actors. Some I knew, some I didn't know, but they just all did a really good job. There was the production design really good. You know, they had a lot of that stuff already kind of done for them from the previous Game of Thrones. There's a lot more dragon action in this, which was good. Some of the other kid actors I felt didn't, hold their own as well, but it was like, they're fine. What's that? Yeah, exactly. They're children. It's fine. But yeah, I don't know. It was really good. I was pleasantly surprised. Enjoyed all 10 episodes. I know, again, there's probably some that are better than the others and stuff like that. There's some weird decision making sometimes by characters, and you're like, it's for dramatic effect, I guess. But overall, it was good. I really enjoyed it. I was surprised.
Nice.
Trying to think of anything else to say about that.
Yeah, it's good. Recommend it.
Yeah.
Season 1 of American Crime Story, which is Ryan Murphy production. I think Ryan Murphy's a bit of a douchebag, but I watched it. It's about the OJ trial, and it's super camp. John Travolta's in it with like fucking fake prosthetic cheekbones and black eyebrows. Olsen's super good engineers in it. There's a bunch of other people in it. Now I can't remember who else. David Schwimmer's in it. And it's just about the OJ trial. And it is probably one of the least offensive Ryan Murphy productions I've ever seen. It's not really high praise, but it was all right.
Nice.
If you like camp, I recommend it because they just go camp on this.
And is that more recent or is that an older one?
I think it was released in like 2016, 2017.
Right.
Yeah. It was all right. It was like, I mean, it's just a crime show. Just about how crazy the OJ trial was, because it was crazy.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know if you ever listened to the You're Wrong About, like the series they did about the OJ.
You're wrong about OJ saga.
Yeah. It was crazy.
It was crazy, but like there so many weird things that happened. Like Marsha Clark's nudes got leaked to like tabloids. She was the attorney for the state, like the DA.
Yeah,
and
the prosecution.
Prosecution, yeah. And then so this is what I was like, what the fuck? They had a police officer who found the glove. They had him testify, and it turned out there was like tapes of him saying the N-word and talking about planting evidence and beating up black people. And so the defense obviously wanted to get that, on record. But then there was a big kerfuffle because in the tapes, he also talks about the judge's wife, who was the police chief, and about like how like he hates her basically. So they had to do a big like separate trial thing to like even get the stuff put into evidence, and like all that had to be removed, and it was like so close to a mistrial so many times. So if you're kind of interested in like how courts work, it's kind of fun, but yeah, it's all right.
Well, and that one as well, like it was kind of at that time, especially, it was like the merging of celebrity and a trial that like everybody was sort of interested in, that it kind of changed the landscape of like how those kind of cases are prosecuted. Like if, for example, not to get too political, but like all the stuff that one Donald Trump has done, and he's still walking around free, and you're like, dude.
Yeah, or even like for like lower stakes, the Johnny Depp trial. How many people were like fucking tuning into that, myself included. But I mean like
I just mean like how, like you're saying like how they were like, oh, it's pretty open shut, we have all this evidence of how they're prosecuting it. Now they're just like, we can't even touch something like that unless we have like 100% ironclad. It's never gonna be, no hole can be poked in it, right?
Yeah, I mean it's also like I think a lot of people don't understand that like even if you have like 100% good evidence, if you don't file it properly, if you don't like treat it properly in court, it can just all be thrown out. Like you could have like a videotape of her being like, hello, my name is Rodney Killer and I'm gonna kill this person, and then they do it. But if you like don't put it into evidence properly, then it can be thrown out.
Well, and I'm sure like you've seen, and like I know John Oliver's done pieces about it, but like there's that kind of evidence exists, and then but like to exonerate somebody and they don't put it in evidence because they're like, that's not even relevant, and it's like, no, that was the person who did the kill, not this other guy you've arrested.
Oh, totally, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I give it a mediocre out of 10.
Yeah. Nice. I guess for me next, then we'll go with the Sandman, like we talked about, maybe doing a show.
Yeah.
But so that was on Netflix. This was shocking to me. Not that Neil Gaiman was in it, obviously, because he was, but David S. Goyer was one of the creatives behind this as well, and his output has been like mixed over the year. Like he wrote one of the terrible Supermans, and like he's been involved in like terrible stuff and good stuff. So his career has gone all over the place. Like he wrote the first Blade. So,
oh, weird. Yeah.
Yeah, but this was 11 episodes, and Tom Sturridge played Dream, and they brought in Boyd Holbrook was the Corinthian. Patton Oswalt played Matthew the Raven. I really like this person's performance. Vivian Acharapong, I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. She was Lucian, and
cool.
It was just kind of, I watched it out of like a curiosity, like I was saying, sort of in the past earlier, because I was like, what are they gonna do? Because the Sandman, you've read, you've seen it, like it's messed up, right?
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like I was surprised they actually did the episode in the diner, and it was pretty close to the comics.
I thought for sure that they would cut that. Like
I thought the same thing. I was like, there's no way they're gonna do that.
A bunch of children has told me it's really good. Like in the store, they're like, "Have you seen the Sandman?" And I'm like, "You're like 12. You shouldn't be allowed to watch that."
Yeah, so I mean, like they did do a lot of the major storylines in the first chunk of it, and I was also surprised. The last episode is the interlude episode where they have the Dream of the Cats, oh my gosh,
They put the cats in there.
Yeah, like they do the interlude where it's the Dream of the Cats and the what the heck's the word? The muse that gets captured.
Oh, weird! Oh my god!
Stories. So again, I was also shocked they did that. Like the guy who plays Rory in Doctor Who, he was the main guy in the Muse story.
Oh my god, that story would be so hard to watch, I feel like.
Yeah, it is.
Ooh.
Yeah, so, like I said, I was surprised they did that. So they kind of, with Boyd Holbrook as the Corinthian, they kind of beefed up his role a little more because he shows up a little more throughout the series until he is defeated by Dream. It was good. I enjoyed it. I watched all of it, and like we talked about before, like Jenna Coleman shows up as Constantine. She showed up twice as Joanna Constantine. Shows up as the ancestor and as the later Constantine. But yeah, they did the episode where he meets the guy who's gonna live forever, right?
Cool.
Yeah, and it was really good because that takes place in between the two major storylines, and I was like, oh, like I was shocked they did that because it's like that's going to take up a whole episode.
Yeah, I guess they just were like, hey, we're going to go balls to the wall, do all the things.
Yeah, and I think it was recently announced that they are going to do a season 2 because they were like it was expensive, right, to make, and
Yeah.
because it's some CG, and there's a talking raven. They go to hell where Gwendolyn Christie plays Lucifer. She was great.
Awesome. Great
Yeah,
choice. Yeah.
yeah. You see some demons. You see the realm of hell. One change they did make, which I was like, I don't know, I guess, but it's like when he goes down to hell to get his helm back. I think I want to say that
Yeah.
he has a riddle battle with a demon, right?
Yeah. That's classic.
So good. But in this dream riddle battles Lucifer instead.
Oh,
Yeah,
I can see why they did that, I guess.
exactly. It's like I could see why you did it because you got Gwendolyn Christie there, and not. But then it's also like Lucifer loses, whereas in the comic and it's like it was a plot by Lucifer using a demon, and then she banishes the demon because he lost, right?
Yeah.
God, I was kind of like, but it's like, again, it's like you have this actress, of course you're going to use her, but so like again, there's just changes like that here and there, but overall, I did enjoy it and would recommend. And I was unsure how they were going to do again the Sound of Her Wings, which is one of my favorites, where he goes with Death, his sister, and she goes through her day collecting souls.
Yeah.
And it was also quite good.
Oh, cool.
It was varied. It was good. A bunch of English people, and Neil Gaiman only narrates, or I think he narrates the cat dream, and plays one of the guardians like in that dream. But so he's not narrating it like the BBC radio production.
Right.
Like he's only in there once in a while. But yeah, apparently, like I said, has been announced they're going to do a season 2 because it's been up in the air because Warner Brothers involvement, Netflix involvement. It's expensive, but I think there was enough. Clearly, got enough viewership, and would recommend.
I know there's a lot of children thirsty for the Corinthian on TikTok, so.
Well, that actor, he was in The Predator. He was also in Logan. He played like the main bounty hunter guy in Logan.
I do not remember that.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, so but in this, because he plays, he's just suave, cool serial killer, the Corinthian. Yeah, and even that they went full out when they did the serial killer, the collector convention, where it's just like, yep, there's all these people there, and they're all talking about serial killing and stuff like that, and it kills people on screen and everything, and I was just like, yeah, they did it.
All right, well, cool. Now I kind of want to watch it.
Yeah, like I said, I was surprised the directions it went. I would recommend, and I did enjoy it. But I
might skip the Muse episode though.
Right. Well, no, that's at the end, right? It's like the last interludes, so you can keep that. Yeah. But no, I was gonna say I haven't listened to the BBC production 2 and 3, which they've released recently.
Oh, they received the third one now too, hey?
They're out just recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so behind.
I guess I have to get Audible again.
I'm thinking I might. Yeah.
Speaking of British people, are you talking about Sandman?
No, I'll stop talking about Sandman.
Yeah, get off. No. I watched season 5 of The Crown. It was good.
Is that the Diana one or no?
Yeah, we both really like her. The girl from Tenet.
Oh, yes.
Elizabeth Dubé. Anyway, she nails it.
Mm-hmm.
She's really great. The whole season's pretty great. Episode 3 was weird and a choice that I would not have made. And that's all I'll say about that. I recommend it if you like British people.
Well, and does it lift up to previous seasons' qualities as well?
Yeah, season 4 I found the most boring. I really couldn't get into it. It is vastly superior to season 4, but it is not as good as the Claire Foy seasons, which is seasons 1 and 2. I thought that she was the best queen, and maybe because it took place kind of, I guess seasons 3 and 4 also take place before I was born, but I just found early days of the queen slightly more interesting, which is it sucks because season 4 the queen is played by Olivia Colman, and I love her, but they just weren't interesting to me as in 5.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, Professor Umbridge queen in season 5.
Oh yeah.
I like her a lot.
No, so yeah, it's good. It's a good choice.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for shows. Do you have more?
Yeah, I got one more I'll talk about. It just finished up recently here, and that is so I'm gonna. This is funny because it's labeled as Anne Rice's interview with the vampire, but as we discussed, Anne Rice is dead.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know.
I was saying that like you and I were talking about this, not in the podcast a little bit. Dead. And they've made choices that contradict stuff that she had said when she was alive.
Yeah, this is what I'm interested as well, because 7 episodes, and it was on AMC. Creator was Roland Jones on the show. And yeah, like we were talking about, and so Louis and Lestat are in a relationship, which they, of course, in the books are not.
Yep, like a romantic one.
Yeah, romantic one. They also changed the lore a lot, where one thing, of course, is that they can eat and drink human food, which I was like, no, that's the whole point, is that they can't. Claudia, they aged up. She is 14 in the show, versus in the book, she is like a child of like 9 or 10 or whatever, right?
Do you think that makes it more or less creepy, or just creepy on a different level? That's
exactly the thing, is because, yeah, like at one point she has a guy, and then they go on a date, and then he's like, hey, this guy, and she's like, no, I'm 19. But that's exactly it. I was like, is this more or less creepy or a different kind of creepy? But yeah, because like at the point of when the show ends, she's in her 30s. Like she's like 33, I think it is, or 36.
But in the body of a 14-year-old.
But in the body of a 14-year-old, which of course is the whole point with Claudia when it was Kirsten Dunst, or in the book, of course, that it was like, yeah, she's like 9 or 10, and she lives many decades beyond that, and it's far worse for her because she can't do anything on her own. Right? But I don't know, like the actors were good, and Jacob Anderson played Louis, and Sam Reed played Lestat. They were both pretty good, and so they changed also the time that the book or the show starts. Sorry, excuse me. It's already, they're in New Orleans. It's in America, and like the show ends just at the start of World War II, so it starts earlier than that. I think in like 1917 or 1910 kind of time. I think I want to say it's after World War One. Yeah, I think that would make sense. So yeah, that's a different than the books, of course, as well, because Louis he's born in like the 1800s or something like that, I think. Right? So,
yeah.
And this is one thing that's funny as the show goes along. He's getting interviewed by Bogosian is his name. He's been in other things before I recognized him immediately. And so they kind of flash to the interviews a lot, like at the beginning of the episode, at the end of the episode, and sometimes in between, where he asks like some follow-up questions, and he kind of really antagonizes Louis a lot, because in the show, this is actually the second time he's interviewed him. So they do a thing where they talk about like the tapes and how he interviewed him once before, but it wasn't very good. I assume alluding to the first interview with a vampire, like that's the book.
Oh.
So in this, he flies him to Dubai, and he's living in like, this nice house or apartment thing. And he has an assistant, Rashid, who's played by Zaman. Yeah, so they kind of do that back and forth. But then this was something I was like, now you're gone off the rails here. Because at the end, as everyone knows, they kill Lestat, right? And it's pretty good plot. They do it slightly differently. In the book, it's more simple, and in the movie, because they had more time to work with, right? They actually do a pretty good thing here, where Claudia Bailey Bass is her name. She actually, they play like an allegory of like a chess match, right? Where she's like 5 steps ahead, because that's how you win at chess, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, there's all these moves back and forth and everything like that. And they do this big Mardi Gras party, and then they invite some people back to their house, and she poisons one of them to trick Lestat into drinking dead blood. And then they murder everybody in the house, classic horror style. And one of the people was essentially had dead blood. They trick him, cut his throat. He bleeds everywhere. And then in the movie, if you recall, they dump him in a swamp, right? And then he comes back, and then they set him on fire. I don't know if you remember that. but that's in the movie. I can't remember how they do it in the
remember
book.
that. Yeah. So then he ends up, Tom Cruise is just sitting in a little house at the end.
Yes. So and so in this, they don't do that. They just put him in a coffin and dump him with like garbage. And I like this where the interviewer, he's like, dude, he's like, he's like, the trash goes to the dump. And he's like, you know what lives in the dump? He's like, rats, big rats. And then they show like a scene of like an arm coming out of the coffin to like snatch a rat. And I was like, okay. It was kind of a better reveal when he's like, you don't know if he's alive or not. Now it's just like, it's obviously he's alive. But then this was also nuts where it turns out Rashid is also a vampire, and he's the vampire Armand.
Oh.
Yeah, which again, if you recall, in the movie and in the book, Louis rejects Armand and doesn't want to be with him because he's like, me being with you isn't going to really do anything for me. And this is after, of course, Claudia gets killed. I was like, okay, now you've really just taken Anne Rice's stuff and you're just running with it. But I'll be fair and honest here. I haven't read all the series of books, the interview, like the Chronicle of the Vampires books. I've only read like 4 of them. But also the 4 I've read, Lestat is the main character. It's not Louis.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they're going with this because the season 1 ended and it was, like I said, good production, good design. They built like enough of like a, old timey New Orleans that I believed it. That's where they were. Nice house and everything like that, and etc. But I was also like, you've really gone off on your own on this story here. Which, like we were talking about, that you were telling me, I was unaware of this, that like Anne Rice was very protective of her, of the story. Like you said, that they weren't a couple, they were just 2 vampires.
Yeah, she used to like get people's fan fiction shut down in the early days of the internet. People had to be on private forums to share fan fiction about Interview with the Vampire. She was very, very protective of it, and she was extremely upset when anybody made them gay.
Yeah. And like I was saying, like the next book, like Interview with the Vampire is about Louis and his life, but it's mostly because he's talking about Lestat. The next book is literally The Vampire Lestat, and then Queen of the Damned is about Lestat.
Yeah.
And then there's one in between, I think it's called like The Body Snatcher or something like that, where a guy steals Lestat's body and he has to like get it back. And then the next one is The Devil Manon, which is also about Lestat. Like Louis shows up, I think, in Interview with the Vampire, but he's like, it's like a 1-paragraph thing where it's like, oh, hey, Louis, we're going to go over here and do this thing. Like,
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, like I said, overall, I did enjoy it. I'm just more curious now where they're going with this. It's clear that AMC is trying to build some kind of prestige thing because they have this logo, the Immortal Universe, they call it. And they have a witch show coming out in January. Yeah, Witches of something. I can't remember the title off my head. And so I'm curious about that. I was like, oh, I'll give this a shot. Alexandra Daddario's in it. And she's doing a lot of like prestige TV stuff these days. So I was like, okay, see what that's about. Yeah. Interview with the Vampire. I did see that it shows up on Amazon Prime as well. But I assume it's, if you have AMC streaming, it's on there. But yeah, it's not, like I said, it's 7 episodes. They're 45 minutes-ish, an hour-ish each. Goes by pretty quick. And there's just some neat stuff in there. What I also did like is that, and he talks about it very explicitly, John DiMaggio plays one of the aldermen in the town, in New Orleans, sorry. And Louis Jacob, he's black. And so yeah, he's getting like discriminated against and like, talked down to all the time and everything. And then eventually he was a vampire. He's still pretending to like maintain that illusion. And then one time a guy just kind of says something to him and he just like snaps. And then goes, not on a murder spree per se, but he kills the guy who was like insulting him and then goes to the alderman's house, and because he was like trying to like undercut his business and basically get him shut down. And he's just like, the guy, he pulls out a gun on him and he like shoots him and he's like, oh yeah, no, it's okay if you want to reload. And he's like, and then he's like, oh, I'm thinking, he's like, I can hear that you're thinking that you're like, oh, your wife and kids aren't here. He's like, it's probably a good thing. And then he just like murders the hell out of the guy. Right?
Nice.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, that was a neat aspect again. And then Claudia is also black that they turn there as well. So I don't know. Like I said, there was a lot to like about it. I'm sure it wasn't probably the most cleverly written show, but it's yeah, like I said, it was more interesting just from that of like, what are you doing here to this lore that was supposedly pretty established.
Should we move on to books?
Sure.
I've only read one book.
Well, most of my stuff's still from the same series.
I read Husband Material. It's a queer romance novel. It's a follow-up to Boyfriend Material. It's very mediocre. The end.
Is this like a continuing series? Is there like another one after it, or?
Oh yeah, I guess maybe. Well, this one just came out in like August, so
Okay.
maybe the follow-up is Father Material.
Right. Yeah.
I would assume that would follow logically. Although the way they ended it, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what their plans are. The first one had a story. It was like enemies to lovers. They had to fake being boyfriends and then they fall in love, blah, blah, blah. And in this one, it sort of just meandered. They were a couple and they kind of go to different weddings. And yeah. It was all right.
Nice.
Glowing review from Devin.
Yeah. Well, and sorry, just a real piggyback, go back to Interview with the Vampire, because like I said, they're a gay couple in, old America and New Orleans, and at the end they're at a ball and then like they dance and kiss and like they actually show like crowd reaction and people are like being like, oh my God, and like disgusted and everything like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Some people still react like that in
sure.
2022.
I guess that's probably the commentary they were going for.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. For me, like I was saying, it's mostly been a continuation of the Malazan Book of the Fallen that I've been reading. Let's see, like the Dead House Gates, Memories of Ice, House of Chains, Bone Hunters. I'm currently into the next one. I think it's book 7, Reaper's Gale. These are all by Steven Erikson. And this was kind of neat. I didn't know that the series ran from Gardens of the Moon was the first one in 1999. And then the last one, The Crippled God, came out in 2011. So I didn't realize that the series, I mean, that makes sense considering it's like 10 books.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize when it was written kind of a thing. And I was like, oh, that was more recent than I thought. Because when I read them in the past, that must have been really close to when the last book even came out. Like I didn't realize I was that close to its publishing essentially. But yeah, that was pretty good. I also read Black Paradox, which is by Junji Ito. It's a manga of his, and here's what I think happened is this was an older one that was from his early career, and it was probably released in a magazine format, like back when he was probably more involved with that. How to do like with Shonen Jump and stuff like that. And so there's never been, or I think there was a release collection, but it hasn't been like in print for like ever. Because I've looked. And then they finally did come out in print just recently in October. So I bought it, read it. It's good. If you like Junji Ito stuff, it's good. I always thought maybe it was out of print because it's like a quarter of the story is about 4 people trying to commit suicide. And so that's kind of like, yeah. You mean you don't want that out there?
Yeah.
But I don't know.
He's got a Netflix show coming out soon, hey?
Really?
Yeah. I can't remember what it's called, but they are promoting it in the new section. They sometimes show you upcoming shows, and I noticed that he has like an anime coming out.
Yeah, I know that they've done some anime adaptation. There's been some live action stuff of his stuff and some anime of his stuff. I've watched a couple. The animes I haven't watched, I was watching a review once of one of them, and they said they kind of, maybe this will be a different production, but the one that I was watching, it was done on the cheap. And so they were saying it didn't kind of bring the comic panels to life, because the whole point of the comic or the manga is he uses like the page turn where it's like the character looks at something, you turn the page and you see what they're looking at, and it's horrifying, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, and then they were saying if that's not done well enough, it doesn't translate in a live action or a medium that's moving, I guess.
Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know. But that's cool. I mean, I like his stuff, so.
Sorry, just to, like, I know we're talking about books right now.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about, like, filming stuff with live action. my dislike for Ryan Murphy stuff. In American Crime Story, oh my god, he uses every camera trick possible. Like, a character will pick up the phone and it'll do like a snap zoom as they're like hearing what's on the other end.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's so noticeable and it's so like, just like, I don't know, it's just camp, right? Like, I don't even know what else how else to like refer to it, because it's just like everything is dramatic, everything is like a quick zoom in. Yeah, anyway, sorry. You just made, when you're talking about that, it made me think of that and how stupid it looks.
No, it's definitely, I think I was watching, was that somewhere, and like Armageddon was on TV, and I was watching it and just laughing at the the camera tricks that are used, that it's just like, now that, like, again, since we've been doing the show and I've kind of looked more to like the creation and how things work, and that it's just like, like all these tricks that Bay is using, and I'm just like, this is hilarious. And it's like early 2000 or whatever, late 99. And so it's just like everyone looks all shiny and glossy. Just like, this is hilarious.
Actually, thinking about it, American Crime Story, to give you an idea of how this like feels to watch, it looks like they took like Sam Raimi during his Evil Dead 2 phase and gave him a Valium. So it's not quite as crazy as Evil Dead 2, but it's definitely like, what are you doing? This is a crime drama.
Yeah.
It does not need to be shot like this.
Yeah.
It seems it's like giving a very important speech in a clown voice.
Yeah, it doesn't have that gravitas.
Yeah, no, definitely. Anyways, continue on.
No, that was it for my books, because like I said, I mean, I've read, like I'm on book 7 of this series, and I've just been kind of going on with it because it's good.
Nice.
Yeah, they're like 800 pages each, and it's a series, like I've touted it on the show before. I would recommend.
Well then, I guess to wrap up, out of everything that you've talked about, what do you recommend the most and what do you recommend the least?
I recommend everything I talked about.
No? You don't have one thing that stands out that you're like, people need to do this?
I guess if anything stood out the most for me, it'd probably be Cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Nice.
The story, like I said, is pretty simplistic, but the creativity in its color palette, its animation, and its just everything else around it was really good. That I would probably recommend that the most, I guess. Like I said, I was surprised by The Sandman, House of the Dragon, how much I enjoyed them. House of the Dragon especially, I enjoyed it far more than I thought I was going to. But yeah, I think probably the Cyberpunk would be a slight edge in its recommend. But again, it's not for everybody because it's pretty violent. Yeah, and if you're not into, like, it's pretty violent. There's nudity in it, and etc. Right? So it's like, it's fine for an adult audience, but might not be everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. What about yourself then?
I mean, Woman King.
Yeah, I had the double recommend.
And then probably I would put The Mysterious Benedict Society as like, if you like fun orphan shows.
Yeah.
It's really fun, and Tony Hale is great in it.
Nice.
And the thing I recommend the least is The Harpies of Inisherin, because it's fucking so pointless. Like, it wasn't a waste of time because I went with a friend and we had a great evening, but it
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to quickly just talk about two things before we sign off and wrap it all up that I had kind of like in progress, and you brought up one of them, Rings of Power. I'm on episode 4 of that, and
yeah, I've got 2 episodes left.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of curious how my thoughts will change about it, because like we've talked about a bit, like the show is incredible in its production design, its world, and etc. Like, incredible, but the writing is not as strong as you'd think it could be, and I'm just kind of curious, like how long is it going to go? What's happening? You know?
Well, it got review bombed, so I don't know if it'll get picked up for a second season. People were really mad about black elves for some reason.
Yeah, that's what I was joking with you immediately when I watched it. I was like, oh, are people mad because there's a black elf? But I like him. He's really good.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I think that they should have, the character of Galadriel, they should have made it just a completely different character because it gets compared to Lord of the Rings too much. That's my complaint about it is like, yeah, it's just she's so different than she is in the movie, so that people like take offense to it. And also she's like a good fighter and a woman, so people don't like that.
Which is so weird to me, like
she's the woman that exists, so people are mad.
I know, but it's I don't know, like I'm an old man, as we jokingly say all the time, but it's like, yeah, like strong sci-fi women kick ass. What like that's not a problem. That's awesome.
I feel like if Alien came out today, people would be really mad about it. Like, why is Sigourney Weaver the only one who why is Ripley the only one that survives? It should have been like if you think about it, it should have been this character instead. This character's way more likely to survive.
Yeah, like, because if I'm gonna go on a limb here and reveal a little too much, like that's the character I have a crush on. You know.
Oh my God, we all do, especially when she's running around in her panties and tank top at the end.
That archetype as well, like badass female warrior, yeah. Like Xena, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who's against that?
Oh, and you also like blonde lady from Stargate.
Yeah, Sam Carter.
Yeah.
The best. Oh my God. Oh my God, she would be so SJW attacked, as it were, because she's a doctor, she's a physicist, a kick-ass military woman. Oh my God.
People would be so mad about it if it came out now. Like, could you imagine if Xena came out now? Like, if it had never existed before, and then but they're like, what? A woman?
Yeah.
A woman fighting people?
Yeah, like I don't get it. Like, yeah, like Red Sonja. Like, who doesn't want Red Sonja?
Right?
Anyway,
I feel like if Xena came out now, people would be like, this is not historically accurate. And it's like, no, she fights off bad guys with fish. Like, I don't know what you want here.
She has a chakram.
Yeah, it's not even a real. Oh, anyways.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to mention was The Peripheral, which is also on Amazon. This was kind of curious. It popped up because it sort of had Lisa DeJoy and Jonathan Nolan's involvement, who produced Westworld as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's based on a William Gibson novel called The Peripheral, which I haven't read yet, but I'm going to probably read after the show because you know how I like to do things backwards. But it was funny because like this is like I didn't realize it's like the producer show. I think I sent you that screenshot of all the producers in the show.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
I was just like, holy crap! There's like 20 of them. But it's got Chloe Grace Moretz, who plays Flynn, and Gary Carr, who's a British guy, plays Wilf, and Jack Raynor plays her brother. But what's funny to me is they're living in like a southern state. I think it's like South Carolina, I think I want to say, or maybe North Carolina. Somewhere not in like. Anyway, she's kind of affecting an accent, like a southern accent, but not like a super twangy one. Mm. But I was kind of like, oh, because I don't think I've ever heard Chloe Grace Moretz speak like that. And I looked it up. She's actually is from Georgia. And I was like, oh, so I guess maybe she just needed some coaching to get back her accent or something.
Oh, nice.
But I think there's going to be 8 episodes. There's only 5 out now. I'm on episode 5. I've watched 4. And it was weird because the first 2 episodes were like lots going on, jam-packed, setting it all up. And I'm like, okay. And again, because it's like cyberpunk-y, I kind of like made correct guesses about the world. And that's fine. But these last couple episodes have really dragged, I think I want to say. So I'm like, again, it's like, how many seasons is this going to be? Is the 8 episodes going to be the whole book? I don't know. Right? Because I'm like, you really slowed down here in these last couple episodes if this is supposed to wrap up in 3 episodes. So we'll see what happens. And when I talk about that in a month, I guess.
Cool. That sounds good. I hope we'll record again before a month from now.
Well, I just meant like because there's going to be 3 more episodes, so it's going to be 3. 3 weeks of time before the episodes because they're doing weekly releases, right? Similar to Amazon Rings of Power, sorry. So
Nice.
So
I heard Netflix is moving to that format as well. They're going to start doing week to weeks.
I think it can work for some shows, and that kind of, I know they kind of tested that. I think with like maybe releasing, they did it with Stranger Things, because I think they still were working on it, where they released half and then another half afterwards.
Yeah.
As well, I don't mind the week to week, but I could also see maybe like when Amazon does when they do like 2 when they first release it, and I'm like, cool, I get my like the first 2, so maybe like 2 at a time could be kind of good.
Yeah, I feel like I like the idea of week to week. Unless it's like, if they get the rights to like, I don't know, The Nanny or something, they should just dump all 5 or 6 seasons right away.
Yeah.
You
like
know?
like it works well for like more like a prestige-y type show that's kind of going for like like that mystery or like the Rings of Power, where they're like, oh, they're building this big story versus like a sitcom or something. It's like, just put it all out there, people will enjoy it, right?
Do you like how I pulled The Nanny out of my back pocket? It's a deep cut.
Fran Drescher.
Yeah, I love that show. It's great. It's still great. Will always be great.
It was one of those shows, like there was some shows that came and went through my viewing just because I would get home from school at like that time and it would be just on, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be like it would be on and I'd have like lunch or something like that, and I'm like, I guess this is what I'm watching.
Yeah, totally. It's great. It's a wonderful show.
Yeah.
It's out of date because it was made in the 90s, so there's a lot of fat phobic stuff. There's a little bit of, it wasn't too homophobic because she actually developed it with her husband who turned out to be gay, so that was nice. Got a lot of homophobia, a little bit of transphobia. It was the 90s, but nothing too egregious. And it's still like a lovely little like I Love Lucy-esque show.
Yeah.
I got nothing else. Do you have anything else?
No, like I said, that's pretty much my whole list. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to check us all out, we're on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you can get your podcasts. You can check our website, tomeofuselessness.com. You can always email us topic suggestions, questions, comments about the show, tomeofuselessness@gmail.com.
Yeah,
I love our name.
And tell us why Ripley wouldn't survive.
No, I was gonna say I love our name, but it's also hard to say many times rapidly. But anyway, again, thanks for listening and stay safe.